You should get a little notice that it's being recorded, so you can accept that. And we'll get started. Thanks, Lindsay, and welcome. I'm going to cover some general things, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. And if there's anything that I can't answer, we'll just take notes, and then we'll get back to you. So this is an information session, but it's information for you. So be sure you get your questions answered. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the value of an MBA, even though I think that's a personal decision. Okay, but I'll describe the resources that Cal State Long Beach makes available for all of its MBA programs. And I will give you an overview of those programs. I'm going to focus on the evening and online MBA programs, but we have two other programs that might be of interest, and I'll describe those and tell you something about why they might be interesting, why they might be a good option. So I hope this information will help you select the best MBA program for you. And I'll describe the spring and fall 2023 application process. It's interesting right now that we are finishing up spring applications, and those are open until the 1st of November. But at the same time, we have fall 2023 applications open, and those are open for most people until the 1st of June. So I'll talk a little bit about differentiating between the two programs if you go out to Cal State Applied. Okay, so these are what some of our students tell us about the value of getting your MBA. First of all, you have an opportunity to join a network of connected students. Okay, almost all of our MBA students are working, so they have information about their companies, and working together creates a group that can provide opportunity for all. So, of course, it's an opportunity to jumpstart your career, move up the ladder, even make a move to another line of work. Certainly, having more knowledge should result in promotions, if not immediately, certainly over time. And of course, the one I like the most is it's investing in you. You're spending your money on you, and it's going to pay off immediately, but it's also going to pay off for the rest of your life. To illustrate that, this is a chart I pulled from a report by Georgetown University's Center for Education and the Workforce. They issued this report last year, but they compared average lifetime earnings for categories of people with high school, college, bachelor's degree, master's, doctorate, and professional. So they compared a variety of fields. I pulled out the business-oriented ones. So these focus on business students. And it looks at their lifetime earnings in thousands. So if you have a professional degree, so if you're a doctor or a lawyer or a professional engineer, you can expect on average to make about $4,500,000 over your work life. And I think they said over 30 years. Doctoral degrees are a little bit below that. Master's degrees, okay, it's almost 3.8 million. And the most important thing to look at here is that it's substantially higher than bachelor's degree earnings over a lifetime, but bachelor's degree earnings certainly have a leg up on associates, some college, high school, etc. So the basic answer here is that more education tends to pay off over your earning life. Now, certainly there's people that drop out of high school, start a business, and make millions of dollars. There are people with professional degrees that for some reason don't make the best of that, don't leverage, but these are averages, and you can see that there's quite a gap between master's degrees and bachelor's degrees. So And of course, as they say in Lake Wobegon, everybody's above average. So, we'll all make more than that. Let's talk about resources we have for students. And we're getting more all the time. We have dedicated resources in the University Career Services Center that specifically work with College of Business graduate students. So they do lots of things. Assist in tuning up your resume, providing mock interviews. They coordinate internship programs. They have a graduate mentor program, the next one down. They host workshops. They bring in people from industry. They bring in former students. So a variety of speakers. They host Toastmasters, so you get to participate and get better at speaking extemporaneously and in front of groups. And there's an opportunity to network. We have an organization called the Graduate Business Student Ambassadors. We have an extensive alumni network. We have a very active MBA advisory board that has regular networking events. And certainly there are other student organizations that our graduate students have an opportunity to join. Okay, so while you're in the program, besides getting your education, you could work on starting your own business. There's an Apostle Incubator that helps people develop business ideas. Along with that, groups can take their idea and compete in the Sunstone Innovation Challenge. Sunstone Local Industry sponsors the Innovation Challenge. Happens every year, and they just are in the process of committing to 5 more years. So groups can receive up to $50,000 in prize money or in-kind services to actually make their business go. Almost all of our programs are provided in the evenings. So most of our students work during the day and go to school in the evening. There's only one MBA program where classes are in the daytime during the week. And I'll describe that when we get there a little bit later on to compare the programs. So here's our 4 MBA programs. We have one called the Saturday MBA. And what a surprise, you go to school on Saturdays. We have an accelerated MBA, and this is the one where you would go to school during the day, Monday through Thursday. It's designed for recent graduates. So if you recently got your undergraduate degree and you want to get your MBA on top of that, this would be a really good program for you. Next one, Evening MBA. This is our longest existing program. It's been around over 30 years, perhaps even longer. It's our most flexible program. You can take 1 class, you can take 4 classes. As the name indicates, you go to school in the evenings, Monday through Thursday. Most classes start either at 6 or 7, and 6 to 9 or 7 to 10. And then we have our newest MBA program, the online MBA program. And I'll talk more about that. We also have 4 Masters of Science programs. These are a little shorter, but they're specialized. We have an MS in Accountancy, and I teach in that program. We have an MS in Finance, soon to be MS in Financial Analytics, if everything goes well, emphasizing the quantitative nature needed to be a certified financial analyst. We have the Masters of Science in Marketing Analytics. That's a STEM designated program, so it attracts a lot of international students. And we have our MS in Information Systems, which is also a STEM designated program, has a lot of international students, and has been quite popular once the restrictions on international travel loosened. Okay, let's talk about our evening MBA program. As I mentioned, this is flexible. So you pick your classes. We have a suggested sequence, but you would select the classes based on the ones available and your preference. As I mentioned, you can take one class, two classes. I think on average, our MBA students take about 7 units, so like 2 1/3 classes a semester. Of course, the fewer classes you take per semester, the longer you stick around, but I think we're pretty nice people, so sticking around is not all that bad. This is specifically designed for working professionals. A lot of the classes, most of the classes, but not quite all, are in-person instruction. Smaller class sizes, we have classes from 20 to 30 in that range generally. So there's a variety of electives in the program. Specifically, you get to take 12 units out of the 48 units of classes that are your choice in electives. So you can kind of create the program that interests you most. Okay, so what does an evening MBA applicant look like? Okay, reasonably good students, 3.13 grade point average. Have been out of school for a while and at that perfect position to try and set themselves up for career growth. 28 years old. About 45% of our applicants are women, but that's trending up. So recently there have been more women than men. And you can see, and when I talk about the online MBA, that most of our applicants for the online MBA are women. The evening MBA program is open to international students. So about 15% of our students are international. And going along with 28 years old, they have about 6 years of work experience on average. Okay, so we have students from the early 20s to into their 50s and even later in this program. So you get quite a mix. Okay, so our online MBA, I said this was our newest program. Started in 2019, but it's been our fastest growing as well. We went from 1 cohort the first year to 2, and we went to 3, and we went to 4, and we probably will have somewhere between 2 and 4 cohorts going at any one time. Again, it's designed for working professionals. All our programs are designed for working professionals except the accelerated MBA. It is a cohort model, so you'd be aligned with about 35 other students, and you would march through the same curriculum. So you don't have the flexibility and choice of electives. Okay, but we have a nice mixed curriculum that would prepare you for almost anything that you would see in a typical MBA, not a normal MBA. This is a normal MBA. It's interesting, and I'll talk about this a little more. You hold classes in 8-week sessions. Normally classes at Cal State Long Beach are semester classes, so 16 weeks. But the online MBA is unique in that classes are held in 8-week sessions. We found it works really well to not overwhelm the students because if you're a full-time online MBA student, you're taking 4 classes a semester. So we split that up. You take 2 classes in the first 8-week session and then 2 in the second 8-week session. Okay, online MBA applicant, a little bit older than our evening MBA. Okay, more women. Average GPA 3.919. It's about the same. Okay. 7 years average work experience. So you see the difference in age. You keep seeing that top 20 ranking University HQ. Our programs are ranked by University HQ in the top 20. I was just reading some material. I'm going to digress for a minute from a organization called Third Way, thirdway.org. And they are rating universities around the country based on the return on investment and upward mobility provided. And the Cal State system schools and Cal State Long Beach are in the top 20% in their ranking. And schools like Stanford and Harvard, et cetera, are much farther down the list. They certainly give people good jobs, but they take a lot of your money to get in there. So it is a trade-off. So the Cal State systems have historically been known for return on investment, and I think that's continuing. I think all of our programs are a really good value in that respect. Okay, let's look at a sample schedule for the online MBA. If you see the 500 level designations, those are introductory courses. So you would start in the first semester taking 4 introductory courses. So if you weren't an undergraduate business major, you get a quick exposure to business concepts. If you were an undergraduate business major and you graduated from an accredited university in the last few years, then you could waive some of these courses. So there's an opportunity to skip 1 or 2 of them. Okay, but we work with you on whichever option is yours. And then you go on to the 600 level courses, which start building on the 500 level courses. The quantitative methods course is a statistics course that's important for all the other classes. And then you start getting into subject specific, and you start building on the introductory courses. So human resources management, managerial accounting, marketing policies, business finance. And then you keep building on that until the second year, and you get the most advanced courses. We've tried to, even though we don't give you any options, we've tried to create a listing of some courses that are really valuable and develop skills needed in the current workforce. And that last class that's called GBA 699, Integrated Analysis, that is a capstone course where you get to integrate all the knowledge that you've learned over your 2 years. And you get to do a project that will be the capstone project for that course. If you're part-time, everything slows down. So instead of 2 classes per semester, there's only 1, but the concepts are exactly the same. You follow the classes in basically the same sequence. It just takes you longer to get through. So depending on your ability to commit time to the program, you can select either full-time or part-time. We have occasionally the full-time participants realize that their job is getting in the way and like to move to part-time. It makes Lindsay's job a little bit harder, trying to switch the schedules over, but we accommodate everybody that has that situation. So she'll just complain a little bit, but Lindsay doesn't complain much anyway. So I do all the complaining. So part-time, full-time, those are your 2 choices for the online MBA. So how would you choose the best program for you? So here's a chart that also includes our 2 other programs. So let me talk a little bit about what we call stateside versus self-support. We have 2 programs, and they're on the outside. The accelerated full-time MBA and the Saturday MBA are offered through our College of Professional and Continuing Education. Those are kind of like concierge service. So you pay a tuition of $950 or $1,000 per unit, and you get everything. So you get your books, you get parking on campus, you get meals if we keep you here over lunch, for example. The Saturday MBA often meets all day on Saturdays, so they would get breakfast and lunch. They would get a parking pass. They would get their books provided. And as part of the program, you would get an international trip. So about 3/4 of the way down, you see the international trip line that it's required for those 2 programs. So where do they go on international trips? Typically Europe. I've been on a couple of them in the last 5 years, but I'm also aware of the other ones I went on. So I went to Stockholm right before COVID stopped our traveling. We went to Tallinn, Estonia, which was very interesting. This last summer, they went to Rotterdam and Amsterdam. Those are close together, so they combined those two cities. They've gone to Copenhagen. They're going to go to Austria coming up here very shortly. So a lot of great trips. And what you do on the trip, you're in country for 7 days. And there are arranged visits with companies that are consistent with the theme of the program. So for the Accelerated MBA, you would meet with innovators and entrepreneurs. For the Saturday MBA, you'd meet with firms that specialize in disruptive technology or sustainability, the environmental, social, and governance aspects of management. So very interesting trips. We pay the in-country costs, so the hotels, the transportation, the meals, etc., and the students have to select their transportation. How are they going to get there? And it works out really well because most people combine the trip with a little vacation, bring their spouses, etc. So it's really a highlight of their programs. So again, those two programs are concierge, everything included, and it's all for one price. So it's 48 units, and you can do the math. 48 times 950 is 45,600 for the accelerated full-time MBA, or 48,000 for the Saturday MBA. The accelerated MBA takes 21 months, and your first summer, you'd be expected to do an internship as part of the innovation and entrepreneurship. Saturday MBA is on a little bit different schedule. It has 10-week semesters, but it takes about 23 months. And again, their specialty is disruptive technology and sustainability. The Saturday MBA students tend to be mid-level managers. So they would most likely be late 20s to early 40s. And the accelerated MBA, as I mentioned before, are recent graduates. So they would be in the 22 to 28 age range, if that makes any difference to you. So those are the self-support programs that are offered through college or professional and continuing education. But we conduct all of the courses, and we derive the curriculum and everything. It's just the financial part is handled through that college. In contrast, our evening and online MBAs are state-supported program. So they're just like our undergraduate program in that the state pays part of the fee for these programs. Okay, so if you're a California resident, depending on how fast you go through the evening MBA, you could expect to pay about $30,000 for your MBA degree. It's a little bit higher for the online MBA. It's just a timing issue. Okay. Notice that all 4 are 48 units. So the requirements for an MBA are identical across all 4 programs. On that link to tuition and fees, when you get the PowerPoint slides, you can click there and it will take you to the university tuition and fees page. So we don't set those fees. The university, in fact, the Cal State system sets those fees. So you can click on there, you can calculate how much it would take to go part-time or go full-time sometimes, and then part-time the other time. So that's a comparison. In the end, they're all MBA degrees. So you just get your choice of which one is the one that interests you. Okay, so here's our email, cob-gradprograms@csulb.edu. So if you have any questions about those, that is the place to contact. Okay, you can always email me at rod.smith@csulb.edu. I'd be happy to answer your emails. Okay, so that's an overview of our program. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the application process, because that tends to be where people have lots of questions. And Lindsay is the expert on that. So I'm going to punt if you ask me a really hard question, but I know some of the basics. So the application process. Okay, so you have to have a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited university. And the minimum is 2.75 for the GPA. Actually, Cal State Apply will let you apply if you have a 2.5. And if you can convince us that things have changed since you were an undergraduate, I've been known to dip below that 2.75 in terms of admitting students. We used to have a requirement for the GRE or GMAT exam, but that's currently waived for 2023 applicants for both spring and fall. I don't know how long that's going to continue. I don't have any authority over that. There's a committee that meets and talks about it. You will need your resume. You will have to provide a link to a video statement of purpose, and I'll talk about that in a little more detail. Then we ask you to respond to a short answer question, and what I mean by short is like a paragraph or so. You'll need to find 2 people to give you reference letters, either an employer or a former instructor. So we need 2 letters of recommendation. You don't actually submit the letters. What you do is you put in the name of your recommenders as you walk through Cal State Apply, and the system will email them and give them an opportunity to upload their letter. So application process. It's through Cal State Apply, and here's the link. Okay, if you're applying for spring, please be careful because there's a little drop-down list and it's already defaulted to fall, I think. So you've got to drop down that list and move it back to spring. Okay, so you select your university, you select your program, and you select the semester for which you're applying. There is a non-refundable $70 application fees, and that's set by the Cal State system. Okay, so we have nothing to do with it, but I think it supports Cal State Apply in general. After you go through the application process, then you would need to arrange the submission of your transcripts to the university. And typically that's done electronically. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Again, for spring 2023 international applicants, it would already be too late. But for those of you that live here in the US or in California, the application deadline is November 1st. Fall 2023 is open for international applicants. It's open until March 15th. The reason it's earlier for the international applicants is there's more evaluation for their transcripts because they may not be in exactly the same kind of system that US transcripts are on. So those have to be evaluated. And then we like to, if we make a decision about an international applicant, we like to give them enough time to get a visa and be able to come to the US. For domestic applicants, that's not an issue. So June 1st, 2023 is the fall 2023 deadline. We do process admissions on a rolling basis. So we don't wait until June 1st to evaluate the domestic applicants. So the sooner you get in, if I had a fall 2023 application come through the process, now I could admit them and you would know in advance that you're accepted to fall 2023. Okay, so here's the Cal State Apply page. You would select graduate programs and then select the term. Again, be careful of any default values here. And there are 4 quadrants, 4 pieces of information on Cal State Apply, 2 of which you're not going to put much in. So the first one is personal information. So on the personal information, you would complete this. This is your personal profile. So you're going to give us your name, address, email, contact information, citizenship, and all of that. Okay. In the academic history section, there's almost nothing to put because you're going to give us your transcripts. We're waiving the requirement for tests. So as you go through there, all you have to do is enter tests waived, transcripts to be submitted. So you really don't need to fill much out. So you just need to move through that. In some cases, you have to put something in the box, but we don't go back and look at that. Okay, supporting information, experiences, we don't need anything there. Because you're going to submit your resume. And then in the 4th section, program materials, that's where you're going to tell us where your video statement of purpose is and some of the other things that you need to submit. So for program name, you're going to pick the particular program you're applying for. For the video statement of purpose, this is really pretty simple. In about 3 to 5 minutes, I want you to tell us a little bit about your career goals over the next 3 to 5 years and what in your imagination would be your long-term dream job. Okay. So you can introduce yourself, spend 15, 20 seconds on your background and then answer those prompts about your career goals and your long-term dream job. Then you would load your video into YouTube, Vimeo, or some kind of platform service. Some people use Dropbox. The important thing is if you're using YouTube, make your video public because we need to look at it. And if it's private, then we can't. So that's pretty straightforward. Some people create a script. That's not necessary. Okay, so you can just talk about it. Be happy to listen to an extemporaneous discussion of what those are. There's no requirement for it to be organized and professionally done. Just learning a little bit more about you. Okay, short answer. The short answer statement, the prompt is asking you to describe a time when you dealt with someone who was difficult. And so I just saw in the news last night about a woman yelling at a flight attendant because they wanted her dog to go back in the crate. So if you were in that situation as the flight attendant, then you would describe how you handled that situation. In that case, they turned the plane around and made her get off. And what would you do differently if you could do it over again? So this is 2,500 characters max. It's not 2,500 words. So that comes up very quickly. It's definitely less than a page and maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs. Okay, in terms of letters of recommendation, ideally you want somebody that's in a supervisory position, so a former instructor or a boss. Okay. So their letter of recommendation should tell us something about how they know you, how long they know you, what capacity, etc. describe your characteristics and why they think that will allow you to excel in graduate studies. Any special descriptions of the contributions you've made, and then put together a strong closing statement endorsing your candidacy for the MBA program. So there's a spot on Cal State Apply for 3 recommenders. If you think one might not submit in time, you can put enter all 3, okay, or you can just enter 2 of them. And again, the system will email them and give them instructions of how to upload their letter of recommendation. Okay. Transcripts. Okay. Don't send any transcripts until you paid that $70 fee and hit submit at the end of the application process. Cal State Apply is set up so you can start the application and then save it, come back, finish some more. And then when you've finally finished everything, you can hit submit and put your credit card information in. Okay. At that point, then you could submit your transcripts electronically. And here's the email address for enrollment services. Okay. If it's coming from a domestic institution only, you can always use old-fashioned mail and mail them to enrollment services / admissions. Electronic is quicker, so most universities are set up to do that. If you're an international student, sometimes that takes longer to get mail from the international location. So recently there is an improvement to Cal State Apply that will let you upload copies of your transcripts so they can start being evaluated before the official transcripts arrive. But if you're an international student, you probably want to talk to Lindsay or somebody in the graduate programs office about exactly how to do that. Okay, so here's the email address. Here's the mail address for the international ones. And CIE stands for the Center for International Education - Admission. And this is the organization that can help you with any international questions. So they are going to be the ones that look at international requirements and the test of English as a foreign language and those sort of things. So they do that evaluation and then they tell us whether the applicant is qualified or not. And then we evaluate their record. So CIE-admission@csulb.edu is the email address for international applicants with any questions. Okay, some upcoming events. I'm going to be available on October 28th. That's a Friday afternoon. If you have any questions and want to talk to me, that I'll be on Zoom from 2 to 5 p.m. and happy to talk to any of you about any of the programs and answer any of your questions. There are various applicant support drop-in hours for the graduate program staff, and I recommend those highly if you have questions about the Cal State Apply process. Okay, so I can answer program questions, and they can answer the how do I get my application in, and what about my transcripts, et cetera, and those specific application questions. We're going to have an MBA student virtual cafe. I mentioned there's a graduate business student ambassadors organization, and they hold virtual cafes. And there will be some in the spring semester. So you can talk with a current student. You can talk about courses. You can talk about their schedule, talk about their experience as a student. And then we're also going to hold open houses in the spring semester for both applicants and current students. So those will be available, and we will publish that information as soon as we have specific dates. Okay, so that was my organized or disorganized spiel. Again, COB-grad programs. If you want to look at more about the content of the program and helping you make the decision, you can go to our website. It's College of Business graduate programs, and that describes in detail all 8 of our programs, what the curriculum is like, okay, what it specializes in, frequently asked questions, etc. So